Hello everyone, in this tutorial we are going to learn about hyperparameter tuning. So let's get started. So today we are going to talk about only two algorithms, grid search and random search. There are multiple hyperparameter tuning algorithms. We are going to talk about them in the next tutorial. So let's start. So I'm just importing few libraries which will be used to help us to understand all these algorithms. So let's import them. So whenever we are trying to solve any machine learning problem, there will be two types of learnable entities. One is parameters and the second one is hyperparameters. So what are parameters? Parameters are like learnable entities which are learned during the training process. So for example, if you consider any neural network, there will be multiple weights between the nodes. So these are learned during the training stage. So these are called the parameters. So if you take a logistic regression or linear regression, so there will be coefficients or weights, what we call. So these are learned during the training stage. And when we come to hyperparameters, these are learnable entities which are set by the user before the starting of training stage. So let's take an example like k nearest neighbors. So in that KNN, you will be giving the k parameter before the training starts. So you will be defining k equal to 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever. So you will be defining that before the training starts. So that is what we call hyperparameters. So let's take another example. uh, Take a neural network. There will be multiple hyperparameters like number of layers, number of nodes, optimization algorithm, learning rate, etc. So these are set by the user before the training starts. So these are called the hyperparameters. In this tutorial we are going to learn about these hyperparameters and how to tune them. So why tuning? Because whenever you try a different set of hyperparameters, then at some point with a certain set of these parameters, you will be get a minimized loss, because our ultimate goal is to minimize the loss. So we'll be trying with multiple set of parameters to get that minimal loss, so our algorithm works better. So let's see. So let's understand. That's what we can understand with an example here itself. So let's take an logistic regression as an example. So you can see the equation y equal to wx plus b. So these w's are called weights or coefficients, and these w's are learnable parameters which are learned during the training stage. Okay, and in logistic regression, after defining the equation, will be when we find the weights, these are passed to the sigmoid to get the probabilities. So we'll be passing that to the sigmoid. So you can find the formula of sigmoid 1 by 1 plus e power minus y. So let's say, so you'll be getting some probability, and then you'll be finding the loss of your algorithm. So here loss will be log loss. So the log loss formula, you can see the sum of all the inputs with minus yi into log of the probability. Y here is the actual value. It can be, we are just talking about logistics, so it will be binary classification. So y can be either 0 or 1 or any other values. So for simplicity we'll be taking as a y equal to 0 or 1. So here y will be anything 1 or 0, and a log of that value, log of the probability which we got from the sigmoid, and then minus 1 by 1 minus the actual value into log of 1 minus the probability value. So you will be getting some loss here. And whenever you want to try to add a regularization term to this logistic regression, we'll be adding that to a loss function. So you can see in the next equation we added a L2 regularizer here, lambda by 2. Lambda is a constant coefficient, like it's not a, like it's a coefficient for this L2 regularizer. and this lambda is called the hyperparameter, which we will be set by the user before the training starts. So here we will be trying the multiple lambda values to get the minimal loss, and here we also try to balance between the bias and variance. We can also call as balancing between the overfit and the underfit. So this is how we will be doing. So let us solve this with an example. So we also have a different types of tuning algorithms. One is manual, grid search, random search, Bayesian search, and evolutionary algorithms, and gradient based. So manual search, in the sense you will be giving the manual values. Let's say we will be first giving the lambda as 1 and we'll be training an algorithm, and we'll be giving a lambda as 2 and training the algorithm. So you will be manually setting these values. So you can do that, but if you have more number of parameters, a manual search will be like hectic. You'll be finding the every value and keeping that value in the algorithm and training it. So manual search is not a good option when you have a large number of parameters and whenever you want to try multiple values. So you cannot do that manually. So this is not a very good approach if you have more than 2 parameters. And the next algorithm is grid search. So let's see what is grid search. So grid search is good when you have a 2 or 3 parameters. Let me say why it is also good. So I'll say that later. So in this algorithm, first we define a set of values for each parameter to explore. So let's say we already seen here lambda is one of the parameter, and the regularization term is also another parameter, because we have multiple regularization algorithms. So you can treat that one also as a hyperparameter. So let's say we define a set of values. So we can define a values for lambda. Let's say we define few values, 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5. So we have 5 values we define for a lambda, and for regularization term we can define 2 values like L1 regularizer or L2 regularizer. So before starting of training of your algorithm, you'll be setting all these values, and then what the algorithm will do is it will try every combination of these values and train your algorithm and calculate the loss, and at the end it will give the best combination of values where you will be having a less loss. So let's understand this with an example here. So let me load a data set. I'm using the same data set which I used in the previous tutorial of confusion matrix. So breast cancer data set. So let's load it and split the data set into 70 and 30. 70% will be going into trained data set and 30% will be going into test data set. So this step can give you a complete the documentation of that function. So what are the parameters it have, and what is the result it can give, and everything you can see here. So let's see the parameters here. You can see penalty as one parameter, dual as another parameter, C as another parameter, like that. You can simply see, and you can set all these parameters if you want. So that helps you to see all those parameters. So here I'm using grid search. So I'm taking a time to calculate how much time it will take. So here I'm using the logistic regression. So you can see the grid search values. Here I'm setting the grid search values, like I'm defining all the set of values for every term which I want to try. So the first time I want to try is penalty, the regularization term, L1 or L2, and I also set a values for C. C is nothing but here lambda. So C is not exactly the lambda. C equal to 1 by lambda. So we will be setting the C values here. So C can be 0.001 or 0.009, something. I set a few values here, and then max iteration is number of iterations your algorithm should do until it converges. So we'll be taking a few values also here: 150, 200, 250, 300 and 350. So here you can use this one grid search CV, which I just imported from scikit-learn. So for this function you'll be like you need to give the multiple parameters, like one is algorithm and the other one is parameters, and the scoring function you need to give. The scoring function will help like a loss function. So I'm giving a f1 loss here, and verbose is like it should not print anything, and njobs is -1, because you can see here we have multiple combinations. So when you set a njobs equal to -1, uh, it will try all these multiple combinations parallelly. And I'm also doing a cross validation here with the 5 terms. So let's see how it runs. So let me run this. I'm here training. I'm just taking the xtrain and ytrain values, and I'm just running it. So here the cross validation is like you'll be giving a complete data set, and if you take a cross validation of some number, let's say 5, so your data set will be divided into 5 parts. The training data set will be divided into 5 parts, and first it will take the first 4 parts and train an algorithm and test with the fifth part, and in the next iteration it will be taking other 4 parts and giving the remaining part as a validation set. So it will be doing like that 5 times. So that is what 5 here in the cross validation. If you give more, it will divide the data set into more chunks, and if let's say take an example, CV as 10, so your data set will be divided into 10 parts, and it will be cross validated on that, and again finally test with the uh, and final we'll be testing with the uh, best parameters at the end. So let's see, it took around 13 seconds to train the algorithm, like try these multiple combinations. So let's see what are the best parameters here. So you can see the best parameters as c equal to 1, a max iteration is 200, and penalty is L1 regularizer. So let's use these values and train the best algorithm, like best model, let's say. So I train the best model, and let's predict the values for that best model, and we already predicted. So let's find the accuracy, recall and the f1 score. So you can see all these values. So we are just focusing on f1 score. So you can find the f1 score as 0.9648. So let's see the best f1 score we got. So we got a best f1 score as 0.97. But you think like we are using the best parameters, but why didn't we get the same f1 score? Because here this best f1 score is a mean value of the cross validation. So we are not doing a cross validation here, so it will take only a complete data set and train the algorithm. So we'll be getting this value. So we'll be not getting the mean value here, so we'll be getting a very close value. So you can see it is very close. So let's see what are the combinations it tried. So you can see the combinations it tried, like c value is this max iteration and penalty, and this is the f1 score it got. So when we go to the best one, let's say 1 200 and L1 score. So actually this is the best value we got, and there are multiple same f1 score, but it given the first one where it find the best score. So you can see the same f1 score here. It is like c1 max iterations 300, and you can also find the similar. Okay, these two are the best scores. And then let's just visualize these scores. So I'm not using L1 L2 here, I'm just using the c value and the max iteration, because we can only visualize the 3-dimension data. So we are using c max iteration and the f1 score here. So you can simply see how these values are spreaded over the space. So you can see c as 1 here, and max iterations is 150, okay, uh, 200, right? So 200 and is 1. So you can see this value as the top value here. When we go to 300, it is another top value here. So you can see here also, when we have the 200, when we have 200, 0.97, and we go to 300, the same value. So you can also find here C as 1, max iterations 200. So you can see a top high value here, and a 300, a high value here. So these two are the high values. So you can simply visualize with other parameters as well. You can do that as an assignment, or you can try that. So that is what the grid search will be do. So what are the problems of the grid search? So it is like time complexity. You know the curse of dimensionality, right? It applies here, because if you take let's say we use the 3 parameters here. So let's say 2 here, 1 2 3 4 5 6. So 6 here, 6 into 2, 12, 12 into 5, 60 values. So we iterated over 60 values here, 60 combinations. So whenever you add another parameter, it grows exponentially, right? So whenever you have more than 4 5 or 6, your time complexity will be growing on whenever you add a new parameter. So it's better to use when you have only 2 or 3 parameters, and you want to dive deeper here. So let's see. So let's take an example. You got this one as the uh, best combination. So here C is the last value, and max iteration is the 350 value. So you can think, what if I increase the C value and increase the max iteration value? It may go beyond that and get the more good accuracies. So this is why grid search, no, it will take more time. Again you need to define a set of values, and again you need to train a model on the all combinations. So it takes more time again here. So if you take a new set of combinations and you get the last value again you need to take the new set of combinations based on that last value. So this is how it increases the complexity, and it doesn't depend on the previous values, because it will just take this combination and train the algorithm, and again it takes the next combination and train the algorithm. But the second iteration doesn't depend on the first combination. Let's say the second combination doesn't depend on the first combinations. So it will simply train your algorithm with all the set of available combinations. So this is one of the biggest drawback of this grid search. So let's go with the random search, the another tuning algorithm. So it always works better than the grid search, because when you take a grid search, it will be looking like a grid. So let's say you can take this axis, and it will be like a grid values. So every value will be here, here. So it will be trying all these values. But whenever you go to a random search, it will be trying the random values from this grid, and it will be training your algorithm. So if you take all these values, let's say we have 60 here, so it will be trying the 60 combination values in the grid search. But when you take a random search, it will be trying very less values, because it takes only random values, and it will train the algorithm. Because of this randomness, there will be a good variance of the splitting of these combinations. So because of that, it works better, and it gives a good accuracy than the grid search. See here, it always try testing with a wide range of values, and it is also very fast than that one, because it will try only less combinations. And these randomly samples this search space and evaluate set of specified probability distribution. Yes, that is what I said before. So let's just run this. So you can see here, this dictionary, you'll be defining the values. For C, we'll be defining the uniform distribution values. Here log C and scale 4. So we need to set these values. If you check the uniform, you'll be finding what are these log and the scale value here. You can just simply check here. And the penalty we are just set to L1 and L2 because only we have only two options. Max iterations you can also try with these uniform, but for simplicity I'm just using these the same values here. I'm just randomly selecting the C value here. So the same random search you will be having the here the model and the distribution of values scoring and the same verbs and jobs and cross validation here as well. So let's just train this algorithm and let's see the time it take. So it just only took the 5 seconds here, but when you see the grid search it took around 13 seconds here, so it is faster. So let's print the best parameters here. So you can see it found around C as some 3.9 value, so let's just replace this, and max iter is 350 and it took an L1 regularizer here. So let's train the best model and let's predict the values, and let's also print the accuracy, precision and recall. So you can see the F1 score here, it is around 0.96. It is also around the same thing, 0.9649 something. Okay, so let me also print the different combinations it tried. So let's see, you can see in grid search it tried around 60 combinations, but when you see here it just tried only 10 combinations. So it is very less than the grid search, and because of that it is very faster than that. So let's also visualize the same thing here, the C value and the max iterations and the loss function here. So let's see what are the best. It is around 3.9 and 350, right? So let's go around 3.9 here. Bit difficult to explore it. 3.9 here and the 350 here, so the value will be around here, this one mostly. Yes, it's 3.9 and 350. So this has the highest value here, because if you check the best score of that one, it is around 0.9677. So it is around that value. So this is how you can visualize. You can also visualize the other parameters. You can take that as a assignment, or if you wish, if you want to try, you can try. So the problems of this grid search and random search are, so let's say in the grid search, so it will try only a set of parameters. If you take an important parameter and unimportant parameter, let's say here the C is an important parameter and max iteration is an unimportant parameter, and when you try a grid search, we'll be trying a multiple combinations, but the C value is only tried only 3 values here. You can see 1, 2, 3 values, and the unimportant parameter is tried 4 values. So when you take a random search, you can see around 9 values, 9 values of the important parameter are used to search for a best combination, and these are like randomly spreaded out. So this is how it is best than the grid search. But the same problem what it has is it doesn't depend on the previous combination. So this is the biggest disadvantages of these two algorithms, because it will try randomly or it will try in a grid way, but it doesn't care about the previous value. Let's say you got this as a one parameter and you'll be getting a very low loss here, but if you take these two algorithms, it will try random value. See, these values very far from these values are very far from these values. But when you take any other algorithms, which I'll be explaining in the next tutorial, the algorithms are Bayesian, evolutionary or gradient descent. What these will be doing is they find the next combination based on the previous combinations. So if you get this value and it has a little bit of low loss, so it will try the values very near to this one, so you can find the best parameter. But one of the disadvantage of that one is also uh, it can stuck at local minima instead of going into global minima. So it has different algorithms in that only. So I'll be explaining that in the next tutorial, how to get rid of that local minimas and go to the global minima, and works better than the random search and the grid search. So there is another type of kind thing is like hybrid search, which is a combination of grid and random, where you can try one thing, like you'll be using a random search with a large hyperparameter set, and you'll be getting few values here, and you can use those values as a set of values in the grid search, and you can train your own algorithm on that again. Okay, and you can just close that a large hyperparameter set in the random search to very closed one in the grid search, and you can try this the same one with the multiple iterations as well. So it also works better than the grid and random, so slightly better. You can try this one. Uh, you need to try this one. uh, uh, I'm just giving this as assignment, or as a different kind of a project. You need to do this one. Hope everyone will try this hybrid search. And that's it for this tutorial. Thank you everyone for watching this one, and hope you like it. If you like what I'm doing, please hit that like button, so it motivates me to do more videos. So, and you can learn more from our tutorials, and don't forget to subscribe. And thank you so much for watching our videos.